Hello guys, welcome back to another video and another F1 Esports video. This time we're looking into the final race of the 2020 F1 Esports Pro Series, and you can see we're on the grid behind the Ferrari and we are 11th on the grid, P11, as we're about to start the race, and we'll get into qualifying a little bit later. But for the start of the race we're on the medium, so we're going for the alternate strategy once again, looking to make gains at the end of the race. We've got a good chance of points in this one because it's quite a high grid spot. Considering where we have been starting for the majority of the season, P11. So let's see what we can do with it. It's all going to come down to the start. A lot of the guys at the front are running the soft tyre, so we can definitely come into it at the end of the race. We have a clean race. We need to be very aggressive on the start if we're going to make any headway. And so 3, 4, 5 red lights, and off they go, and away we go. So decent start, a little bit of wheel spin, but it's about level with everyone else, although Alvaro gets a very good start. But we're going around the outside of turn 1, where the AlphaTauri brakes quite suddenly, hits the Ferrari, or the Ferrari hits the AlphaTauri, and we got to P9. So very, very solid first couple of corners there. And I think the outside for turn 1 at this track's always the best place to be because you don't get that bottleneck situation so much. So we're behind potentially, well, 2 of the potential candidates for the F1 Esports title in Rasmussen and Otmir, so we are in a good spot. We've got front row seat basically of who's going to win the F1 Esports Series in 2020. But if we talk about qualifying for a minute while this little train develops, qualifying Q1 was good. Q2 I had a very good second lap actually. I was very happy with it. And it got pipped by 10 other drivers, and I ended up missing out on Q3 by 0.02 of a second. So very frustrating because I thought my overall qualifying pace in Brazil was really, really good. And I mean, considering Danny Moreno put it on P4 with a really, really good lap, in practice we were basically the same. So I thought, you know, a really high grid spot was possible. So very frustrating, but we're still in a very good position where we can score some good points for the team, which are really well needed at this point because in the Constructors' Championship, I mean, the Drivers' Championship for me there's no point even talking about it, but the Teams' Championship is very much up to play for in terms of us securing P6 in the standings for McLaren, which in kind of the debut year of Veloce controlling the Mclaren Shadow unit it's a solid first season. And don't get me wrong, Danny Moreno came along with the hard carry all season long, but if I can contribute to that success, then happy days. And if we touch on qualifying just one more time, the qualifying format this year has gone from short quali into full quali format, so Q1, Q2, Q3. A brutal format that suits some drivers more than others, but that's why in this season you've seen a lot of top drivers drop out in Q1. It's because the pressure is added a little bit more. You have to deliver consistently quick laps. You can't just get away with doing one really quick lap. So I mean, Danny Beresnay's been out in Q1 a couple of times. Jarno went out in Q1 at Silverstone, and there's been a couple of other shocks as well. And drivers of that pace and calibre going out in Q1, it really does mean anyone can drop out. So yeah, it's not. I don't think it's been the favourite choice from the driver's point of view of putting that quali format into it, but certainly from a spectator point of view, it's a lot more exciting. It makes qualifying a lot more viewable. And so if we skip to the end of lap 8, it wasn't our planned boxing lap in terms of the pit stops, but we decided to go super early. Very risky strategy because we're going to go onto the soft and we're going to do 16 or 17 laps on the soft. So we weren't actually 100% sure it would make it, but I thought, why not? Last race of the season, we've got nothing to lose, should we say? So we're going for it anyway. So we box. A lot of the drivers stay out. Brendan Lee is also boxing with me on this lap on the same strategy, although he's 2 seconds further ahead than us. So it could work. It could pay off. And you got to do something bold in F1 Esports to make any gains, as we know. So yeah, we're going for the undercut. We know this is risky. We're down in P15, although we know we're not down in P15, but we need really strong outlaps now. We're not going to look to save the tyres in any way, shape or form. We're going to just bomb it, use some of the 50% ERS we've got, which we saved in the first stint. Although that first stint, it was tough because the race pace of the guys in front was really quick. And we had to use a little bit of ERS to kind of stay with them comfortably, should we say. There were a few mistakes on my end. I did get one warning. But on the whole, we're still in the mix, and that's the main thing. So we need some strong outlaps. This track really suited my driving style in this game. So, as I said earlier, quali pace was good. Race pace was probably equally as strong. It's just a shame that quali didn't go to plan. But yeah, so far the outlap's been pretty decent. Brendan is 2.2 seconds ahead, so I think that's probably a bit too far for us to gain enough to get into DRS. But if we can kind of keep it around that same gap, then that's good. Although, looking at that, he is in the DRS of Frederick Rasmussen, so they're probably going to pull away a little bit, just how the game works. And Freddie's probably got a little bit more raw pace than myself, so Brendan will go along with the DRS. But Danny Moreno is boxed on the lap after us, so you haven't got any team radio on this video, unfortunately. And again, sorry for the lack of game audio and the lack of quality in the video as well. Nothing we can do about this. As I said in the last video, it's just how it is. Unfortunately, we haven't got all the footage from the season either, so there are certain quali laps and races I want to show you, but I can't. So again, very sorry for that. But back to the race for a minute. Danny Moreno wanted to box as early as possible because he was P4 on the grid, but he went for the alternate strategy, which was risky starting that far up, but it could have paid off and he could have got the win. However, due to our lack of information and comms, we decided to box myself first, then Danny. So in hindsight, if we were to do the race again, we would have boxed Danny first, then me, because Danny could have gained more from it. I would have stayed in this position no matter what. I mean, I've got Cedric behind me, but I think I would have stayed ahead of him anyway. So it's a bit frustrating looking back on it for the team, but we learn from it. It's something we can improve on for 2021. And regardless, Danny's still in a strong position. He's on the soft tyre, although he has been leapfrogged by Rasmussen and Brendan. So yeah, I remember him on the radio coming across a bit frustrated. I don't blame him, to be fair, because he was gunning for the win. I think in the driver's standings as well, he wasn't too far off Tanitsa and Brendan. So yeah, he was definitely right up there, and he still is. So let's see how the rest of the race pans out. We're 2 seconds off Danny at the moment. The good thing is, from our point of view, they're in a train. So yes, they've got DRS assistance for the majority of the lap, or some of the lap, sorry, but for the majority of the lap, they are in someone's dirty air and they're having to drive to the pace, should we say. So in certain corners, we are quicker, and you can see that gap is starting to come down now from 2 seconds to 1.8 almost. So if we can keep on doing this and use a bit of ERS to get within DRS of the car in front, then we're right in the mix all over again. So we're playing the long game. You can see they're actually battling up front a bit as well. Danny Moreno's passing Freddie Rasmussen, who's got a 3-second penalty, I've just noticed. So very, very good for us. And Danny does lose out again to Freddie. I think he might get him back at the end of this straight. But for us, it's just about getting some clean laps down, don't get any more warnings, and try and catch up to the back of this queue. And as we rejoin the action, lap 14, 11 laps to go in F1 Esports in 2020. We're approaching the back of the lead pack. So big trainer cars in front of us. 8 other cars. We've got trainer cars behind us, to be fair, as well. We've got Cedric, but then we've got a bit of a gap, then Bono and a couple of other cars. So I think you can see out the front is still Jarno. He's yet to box, so he's gone 14 laps on the medium. He's gone really, really long, hoping to have a real tyre advantage come the end of the race. And he'll come into play later on. So to be honest, my thinking at this point, it's hard because you need to make moves, but it's so hard to with the guy in DRS in front of you. And as we all know, DRS trains in F1, very, very hard to break away from that. So we've got Rasmussen in front of us, and he's got clearly some ERS because his rear light isn't flashing, so he's not underneath that 10% threshold. And he's got DRS, so it is tricky, but we can't just stay in the train if we want to go forward. But yeah, you'll see what happens later on the race anyway. They are battling a little bit up front, so people are trying to make some moves. It's still not enough for us to get really amongst it. We're driving cleanly, we're driving well. It's just one of those, really. The guys in front are all aliens, and the guys behind, everyone on the grid pretty much is an alien of the F1 game who don't really make big mistakes. So I can't rely on that as I would be able to and say an iRacing official race or something like that. I can't wait for a mistake to happen or a crash to happen, because 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen. So you really have to force the errors and just be really rapid to get anywhere. So our race pace is really good, but so is everyone else's, and that's the problem. So as we go into lap 18 of the race then, not long to go at all. You can see on the leaderboard behind us, Jarno is approaching fast. On fresh soft tyres, he boxed a lot later than all of us, and he's absolutely flying. He gets fast lap of the race there, and he's right on the back of Cedric as well. So you can see it's inevitable, really, what's coming. You know he's coming to overtake you. He's been insanely fast all year, and he was fully deserved of winning that F1 Esports Championship. So unless you've been living under a rock, he did win the F1 Esports Championship. But if he gets past Cedric and gets straight onto the back of us, presuming he's got a lot of ERS left, there's no point me fighting it really. And what you're about to see is a bit of a technical or tactical battle that if I had again, I would have judged differently. So we got a little bit squirrely there on the exit of the hairpin, the right hand hairpin behind Rasmussen. Got a decent amount of ERS still, we got over 40%, so we can use it to defend if we need to. Cedric is about to come under threat from Jarno, and again, inevitable he's going to get past. He goes to the outside of Cedric and uses our slipstream to get past him. Cedric doesn't fight it too hard, I don't blame him, to be fair. And the front guys still staying in a bit of a train. You can see there Brendan goes up the inside of Tanitsa into turn 2. Tanitsa almost goes off. That's right in front of Danny Moreno as well. So Jarno behind us now in the slipstream, DRS, using a bit of ERS presumably, goes or shows his nose down the inside. I really didn't want to have any incidents with Jarno because he was going for the championship. Freddie's not going to win the race or finish in the top 3 or whatever he needed. So it's pretty safe he's going to win the championship, but you just never know. And I know how quickly things can turn in this game. I didn't want to be the guy to cost him the championship, so I was being super careful when I was in front of him. But at the same time, you know, I'm racing for myself and McLaren. I'm trying to defend, but I'm trying to do it really carefully. And then as we approach the final corner of this lap, we get a decent exit, but Freddie gets an even better exit, probably using quite a lot of ERS to be fair. Jarno's right on us, and I assumed he had so much ERS at this point there was no point fighting him at all. Yes, he's got fresher soft tyres, but you can see as he passes us, his light is going for his ERS, indicating he's not got that much left. So yeah, it was a bit of a weird one, because if I knew that before he passed me, I may have defended and tried to keep him behind, because yes, he's got fresher soft tyres, but we're on the soft tyre. We're going at a fairly decent rate of knots as well. We've got DRS from Freddie, the car in front. Maybe we could have kept him behind. And judging by his pace at the end of the race, where he struggles to get past Freddie, yeah, we could have maybe been a bit more aggressive. But in hindsight, it doesn't make too much difference. It's one spot, and we live and we learn. And then a couple of laps later, with only 3 laps to go now, 4 laps to go, Jarno and Freddie are having a right old ding-dong, shall we say. Bit of a battle, which was quite cool to witness, you know, the 2 people going for the title. Being the car behind them was, yeah, it was pretty cool, I will admit. And you can see they're fighting really hard. Considering Freddie's got a 3-second penalty, he should, in theory, if he was thinking about the race, you know, tuck behind Jarno maybe and minimise the deficit that 3-second penalty is going to have on him. But it's the final race. The championship looks to be over for him. I don't blame him. Why not? Why not get your elbows out and make it difficult for Jarno? You never know what could happen. Jarno could break his wing. So I fully get and respect that. And it does look inevitable that Jarno's going to get past with the fresher soft tyre, but he's low on the battery. I'm sitting here not doing too bad on the battery at 32%. I get really, really oversteery on the exit there. I think I left the overtake ERS mode engaged as I started to exit the corner, which a bit of a mistake, but I think we've still got enough in hand to keep Cedric at bay. We've still got DRS from Jarno in front, and to be honest, in this situation they were going really fast in front. The race pace was really strong. I was just trying to stay in a position where I could capitalise on any incidents. I wasn't really willing to risk sending it on Jarno, because I knew if something happened, it's big consequences on the championship. So I thought, yeah, unless it's clear cut, it's an easy move. I'm just gonna hold position and just to see if anything happens in front of me. So moving on then, with 2 laps to go, we're still 6 tenths off Jarno, but he goes up the inside of Freddie and they almost collide, which brings us back into play. And Freddie's now properly defending from Jarno. He's going to be under threat here down the straight because Jarno's going to have DRS. And they go side by side. We're just waiting here, ready for something to happen. Nothing does happen, unfortunately, but we're back in the train. The cars in front of these two are starting to spread out a little bit, although if you look at the mini-map, you can see, I think it was Marcel and Nicholas going for the lead, so they were battling quite hard, but they were a fair old bit ahead, so it didn't really bring anyone else into play. Now, if I remember correctly over the radio, Danny Moreno had really good pace, lots of battery, obviously the soft tyre, unlike the front runners, but Danny Beresnay in front of him had really good race pace and a lot of battery left over, so he could defend and keep Danny Moreno at bay, which was frustrating because Danny definitely fancied himself for the win on that alternate strategy, but it just didn't work out, unfortunately. Maybe if we boxed on different laps, might have had a difference on the final result, but yeah, ifs and buts, it doesn't really matter now. Going into the final lap of F1 Esports of 2020, and summarising, yeah, pretty up and down season. As you see, Jarno overtakes Freddie down the inside of turn 1. Freddie, no doubt, going to go back at him on the way down to turn 4. But it was a nice way to end the season for me, this. You know, behind the people in front of us of this calibre, going for the championship. And we were in and amongst it. We're going to score points. I think at this stage we're on 2 warnings. Freddie there is out of battery, so he's a bit vulnerable, but from our point of view, no point of overtaking Freddie because he's got a 3-second penalty anyway. So if we save some ERS towards the finish line, we might be able to overtake him on track, which would be a nice moment, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter. It was just a nice way to end a pretty torrid season for myself. The team had a good one. Danny Moreno had a stellar season, his first season, as it was mine. It just didn't work out for me for various reasons. But you never know what the future holds as we go into the final corner, up the straight. We've got a bit of battery left over. We can easily defend from Bono. And we're almost going to get Freddie at the line. You'll see in a minute, but we don't quite get him. And that is the end of F1 Esports in 2020. So, yeah, hopefully, well, who knows what the future holds. But if I was to do it again, I'm very confident it would go better than this season. It was a tough debut season, there's no doubt about it. Various reasons meant that was the case. We scored 10 points in the end to Danny Moreno's 70, so not good on our part. But I felt like the preparation that we did as a team, the pace I had compared to Danny Moreno, who has clearly proven himself as a front runner now, was close. There's no doubt about it. It just didn't work out when it mattered. So yeah, that is how it is. I hope the content I've made on the F1 Esports onboards was worth watching. We finished P8 in the end, so a further 4 points for the team, and we did secure 6th place in the Constructors' Championship, so that's really, really good. And unfortunately, I don't really have any more onboards to show you because we couldn't get them. Very frustrating because there's some cool bits I do want to show you, but that is how it is. And finally, before I end the video, I just want to say one big thank you to Mclaren Shadow, the team that let me represent them for the first time in F1 Esports. They're a new team in terms of their partnership with Veloce Esports. I think you're going to see some big and a lot of success coming from that particular partnership between Mclaren Shadow and Veloce. If you want to keep your eyes peeled for them, links to their accounts are in the description below, so make sure you go and check them out. But for this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a like and a thumbs up if you did. Sub to the channel. There's more stuff coming on F1 Esports, not on boards, but videos related to the topic and other stuff as well. But until the next video, I'll see you soon.